Hi, Gabrielle. I'm taking a look at your project. You've got a lot of information here, but it's not all in your narration. And make sure that anything that's in text that's written out on your slides is something that's going to be directly spoken about in your narration. Otherwise, people are going to be reading the slides and going, wait a minute, and they're trying to figure out why you didn't talk about it or whatever. It gets confusing to your audience. Okay. Oop. Kind of going through this. So there's more to the story. Talk about Prometheus steals the fire, but he does more than that, where he goes against Zeus. So make sure all of that's in there. I'm not sure what you mean. Oh, okay, here it is. I'm sorry. I apologize. Right, there it is. So if you're going to talk about that, then that should be under Prometheus's actions, not under the consequences. And then I'm not sure why you say a little beyond the story of fire. Try to keep that less casual and make sure that the organization makes sense. If you're talking about the consequences, then this is the consequences. Okay, so all that stuff about the sacrifices needs to be on a different slide, either on the actions or a second action slide. So then Zeus punishes him not just for that, but for stealing the fire. I mean, that's really the big reason why. And so make that a little more clear. That's one of them. And then here you have Prometheus' consciences. And I think you're still talking about the consequences. So make sure that that's clear. And you mentioned Pandora here, but then you don't focus on her until here. It's just a little confusing the way that you have the slides set up. And this one is fine. With the connections, you have some quotes. I'm a little confused by this quote. You see the Promethean fire, the taste of the forbidden fruit. The reference describes blah, 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 blah. Let me pull out my Hitchcock book so I can see what it is you're talking about here. Ooh, oddly enough, I opened to the page right before that one. Let's see. Prometheus already haunted the minds of Shelley and his friends. Sorry, I know this is taking a while, but I gotta find what you put in here. You said the Promethean fire, the taste of the forbidden fruit. All these meanings intersected in Mary Godwin's characters. With the ... after that, and then you say the reference describes Frankenstein. So you cut out all these meanings intersected in Mary Godwin's characters. She gave her novel a subtitle, The Modern Prometheus. The reference describes Frankenstein, who grants the spark of life to a lower being, but it also describes that being a giant who turns on the figurehead of power. An eerie psychomagnetic pole connects Frankenstein and his monster. Okay. The taste of the forbidden fruit. So the reference... When you say the reference, when Hitchcock has that in there when she says the reference, she means the modern Prometheus, like that. Her second half, the title is the reference that's describing Frankenstein. So the quote that you're giving is confusing, especially since you don't give us the whole thing. Also, there's no images. It's just a quote here and then two quotes here. And I'm going to tell you what I'm telling most of your classmates, which is that what you're doing is like the beginning, like just the very beginning of identifying the connection, but the analysis is what still needs to happen. So I'm just kind of reading through this a little bit more. It allowed the humans to have that much more power against the gods. As for Frankenstein, he created life from a lifeless creature. By being the scary beast Frankenstein makes him out to be, his creature then murders all the people who live. Okay. Okay, so this is a little confusing. Make it more clear how these things go together. If what it is you're talking about is that another connection between the story of Prometheus and the story of Frankenstein is that Prometheus created humans who ended up becoming powerful, though they weren't more powerful than the gods. So I'm a little confused about that. Yeah, so that's a little confusing. That needs to be explained a lot more. I would say you need more connections. There's so much more going on in this. During Shelley's book, she includes many relations between the two characters. Which two characters? You need to make that clear. Mary Shelley mentions in her novel the spark Frankenstein infuses to the lifeless creature. Prometheus relates to this spark. Okay, so a lot of this is just going to be like organizational stuff. Think about it as if you were writing a paper. Every paragraph needs to have a topic sentence. So this is sort of what's missing is this. It is like, here's the connection. So the first connection is that Victor and Prometheus are similar in this way. That this part of the Prometheus story really shows up here. So if it's the fact that the giving of life, okay, start with that. Another one would be his punishment. There are so many things going on, defying the gods, right? That's the big one, is defying God. The consequences of it to both Victor and society. I mean, you bring in Pandora, but then there's no reference later to what that's all about, which is the consequences to humanity, right? That because of what Prometheus did. What are the consequences to humanity because of what Victor did, right? Make all of those things really clear. Pick very specific connections and tell your audience what that connection is. Then go find the example from the book or give enough information from the book, then analyze it and talk about why Mary Shelley chose to use it. Like, why did she include this and why was this important? The other thing is you really, if you don't acknowledge the big difference between Prometheus and Victor, then you're missing a big section of this project. They are similar in many ways, but there's also a huge difference between them. So why would Mary use the modern Prometheus when there is a ginormous difference, which is that he doesn't take care of his creature? Prometheus does everything he can to take care of his creations and gets punished. He gets punished for taking care of them, not for creating them. He gets punished for taking care of them. And so here's the difference, right? Victor is not really punished for creating the monster, right, the creature. He ends up getting punished because he didn't take care of him. So there's a huge difference going on there, and that needs to be addressed as well. Okay, so watch the video I posted in the announcements. It goes through all the different sections of this particular project and the issues that students tend to have with it. If you have any questions about this video, about the video I posted in the announcements, if you need any additional help, just make sure you reach out to me. You can make an appointment to come see me, whatever it is you need.